What's up everybody, Swillow here, and today I have an interesting video discussion topic that I wanted to cover. I want to talk about giants and how they affect this series. So giants, they're very important to the One Piece world. They're very important, Oda's a master of anatomy and proportions, and One Piece is a testament to that, showing characters of all shapes and sizes. So it's an amazing in terms of like art and media and a viewing experience, but when translating to a video game experience, especially like a Warriors game and Pirate Warriors, I don't know how I feel about them adding giants. Like obviously they already considered that this was an issue because in earlier Pirate Warriors games we had like Whitebeard, for instance. He was scaled down. He was still bigger than other characters, but he was scaled down to not be like his proper proportions right for a gameplay experience. But then in Pirate Warriors 4 they basically said, you know what, we're gonna go all in. We're going to add giants. Like we're gonna make them the proper proportions. We're gonna add more giant characters. We're gonna go back and even make like Whitebeard his proper giant proportions, and it's very polarizing to the game, I feel. Like, I think that giants are cool in a way, like it's fun to kind of play as them and just wreak total havoc, but they also kind of, I don't know, I feel like they take away from the integrity and the depth of the game. They pretty much feel like built-in cheat codes, like a Game Shark or something, because they just kind of trivialize all of the game's content and challenge pretty effortlessly. They're just super strong, and that's maybe not even the biggest issue. I would say the biggest issue is especially in a multiplayer experience. So when you go to play this game online and you play with a giant and you're playing like a normal sized character, it's actually like a very jarring experience because the giants will be not launching enemies across the screen or so high up into the air that you can't even reach them, and it makes the multiplayer experience super unpleasant. And at first I didn't think much about giants because, it's like a new novel idea, but I'm thinking like the future of this series. So if they make a sequel or 2 or 3, I don't know what their long-term plans are for Pirate Warriors, but like since they've committed to giants, it's not going to be easy to back out. Like if they decided to like shrink the giants down the next game, that would be really jarring to certain players now that they've used giants as a major selling point of the game. So I feel like they've sort of, I don't know how much they thought about this in the long term, but I feel like they've sort of dug themselves into a situation, because I'm not sure what the easy way to balance the giants are. Like they can't just make them super weak, because that would be very awkward if you're playing this giant character that's basically hitting people with pillows. And shrinking them down, like that's something I wouldn't be bothered by, but for people who are just more in here for the fan service experience, or for people who saw the giants were actually a selling point to them, that's a very jarring choice to make. So I don't know, like I'm thinking about like what could they do to maybe balance giants on the long run to make them a more enjoyable experience like in a multiplayer environment, and so they can also make the game's content more fair as well. Because like I said, they make the content too easy, but at the same time it also feels like they tried to design the content knowing that the giants are this strong, and it makes other characters suffer. Like let's say we have characters like Beige, we have Chopper, we have Bart. Like these characters are super weak. They feel super weak and hard to play in this game because the content doesn't feel like it's designed for them. It feels like they try to design this content for the stronger characters in the game. Like if you, in the older Pirate Warrior games, for instance, like Pirate Warriors 3, there were definitely weak characters and there were really, really strong characters, but the weak characters in Pirate Warriors 3 didn't feel as weak because, all the characters were still fun. There was a better level of balance pretty much. Whereas in this game, I don't feel like they tried to design the game entirely around giants, because then it would be impossible for other characters. but they still try to do some balanced decisions to make it so that Giants didn't like steamroll this game completely for free, but it definitely affected the characters that are a little bit weaker in this game. It definitely makes like their lives extremely difficult, having to compete in the same environment that Giants are in. So I don't know, like it gives me a lot of mixed feelings because I do think Giants are cool. It's an important part of One Piece, but in terms of video game, in terms of the gameplay experience, I feel like they're kind of cheesy. They take away from the integrity of like this, of the Pirate Warriors or a warrior style game in general. Like I've never seen like Muso or warrior style game as games that have like these crazy giant type characters. I don't know, it's just never been like the design of these kind of games, I feel. And they did this stuff in Hyrule Warriors as well, but they made it like a separate like side mode. But they decided here that they were gonna like it. Actually, to be honest, a lot of people assumed that early on in Pirate Warriors 4's reveal that the Giants were actually going to be a separate mode as well, but no, they actually decided to put all of these characters in the same gameplay environment, which is it's a really interesting decision because it's a decision that I feel like they're going to have a hard time balancing or making a little more proper in the future. But I don't know. I guess I want to hear some of your opinions. Like, what do you think about Giants? Do you think Giants? Do you like them? Do you kind of like them, kind of dislike them, or do you feel like they were a mistake? And do you think there's anything they can do to make these characters a little more balanced to the experience? Like, let me just show like a couple of quick examples while I'm here. So I just kind of want to show like, with Kaido, if I do square, square, triangle, triangle, so you can just see like the way he launches enemies all the way across the screen. Like, even for Kaido, that's a really far distance that it's not even easy for him to follow up. But imagine for like all the normal size characters, like that's just like, you just launch them across an entire map. And then you have instances where he launches enemies really, really high into the air. And I guess that doesn't necessarily look high in relation to Kaido, but once again, for normal sized characters, this is usually higher than they can even actually jump. Normally only sky types can have a chance of reaching enemies that high. And even then, it's still very hard for them because the enemies are going to be constantly moving and getting launched all around. So it's very disorienting for other characters to try to follow up from what a Giant's doing. I don't know, like, I like them, but I do feel like they were kind of a mistake, and I've been thinking of ways they could balance them, but I'm not sure. But let me hear what you all think. Do you like Giants? Do you dislike Giants? Do you think they can make Giants a more enjoyable experience within the game, and can they coexist with the other characters? Thanks for